Hey there, it's good to see you. In the last class, we have seen a bird's eye view of what LangGraph is and how it builds up on top of LangChain in order to provide you the framework to create end-to-end agentic workflows. Today, we are going to understand some of the basics of LangGraph, terminologies, and what each one of them means when designing this workflow. So without further delay, let's get started. So to understand, there are four core concepts in any LangGraph workflow or a LangGraph graph to say. The first key understanding is basically of the terminology called graphs. So a graph is basically the entire workflow that you create, which comprises of nodes and edges. In the hands-on for today, we are going to design a very simple hello world workflow, which will comprise of this graphical structure in which we are going to add some few nodes and edges to help you understand the same. So a graph is nothing but a pictorial representation of the entire end-to-end workflow which you have. So for example, imagine a graph would look something like this, wherein you would have a particular starting node. Then based upon the input from the starting node, you would move to the second node. Then from that, you would move to the third node and so on. So here you are basically designing a workflow wherein your data flows from one node to another, and these nodes are connected via edges, right? And this entire workflow is basically your graph. And these individual points are basically your nodes. So whenever building any workflow in LangGraph, we are basically designing an end-to-end graphical workflow which helps us navigate the different functionalities which we are designing inside our work. So that's the first core concept, which is of graph. We'll learn more about graphs as we go on, and we'll try to implement more functionalities around the same. And graph basically includes nodes and edges. So nodes are nothing but the individual steps that you define. These steps could be basic functions or agent invocation or tool calls as well. Right? So you can design any particular node to have either of these three things. A function is basically just a Python function which takes any input and returns you an output, right? The basic functions which we have. You can even invoke agents in between. So say, for example, after taking some user input, you want to invoke an agent to answer the user queries, right? So here the user might ask you, okay, plan me an itinerary for a particular country. Then you can invoke an agent to give the response back, which contains the itineraries, right? So a node can be containing an agent, or it can even contain tools. As I mentioned, a lot of times your agent might not have the intrinsic capability of performing tasks that you have requested. In such cases, we can actually take it one step ahead, right? Wherein we can create tools which your root agent can invoke to get the responses back, right? So it can contain any one of these three things. And as I mentioned previously, these nodes are connected together via edges, which are rules that decide when the flow should move from node 1 to node 2, from node 2 to node 3, and so on. And the last core concept is of a state. Now, state is nothing but the core data which contains all the information which is supposed to flow throughout your workflow. We'll see this in practice in just a second, but the core idea here is that the workflow always requires some shared data. A very common example, it could be, let's say if you're designing a chat assistant, you need to store all the messages that have come between the agent and the user. Right? You need a way to store and let the following agent know what previous conversation is. So you can store everything inside a state. Or if you want certain variables, so say for example, the user is requesting you to create an itinerary for Indonesia, and you need to store it in a variable so that the following tool calls can know which country you have requested the itinerary for. So in that case, you can create a country variable inside your state, which will then pass on that information to any following nodes in that end-to-end workflow. That's basically the concept of a state, which is a shared data that flows throughout the graph as long as the workflow is running. Now, a typical workflow looks something like this. You start off by defining a state, right? So as I mentioned, state is basically that shared data which flows through your workflow. You always have to start off by defining that state. So in LangGraph, you typically use TypedDict or data classes in Python to define these states. Right, so these are the two primary ways of instantiating states inside LangGraph. We'll see TypedDict and how it is used in a second. And then after you have initiated your states, you then write the node function. So these are basically the individual nodes that you contain in a graph. Then once all the nodes are ready, then you wire all those nodes together with your edges, right? And finally, once this entire structure is ready, then you build the graph which which compacts everything together into a single data called graph. And then once everything is ready, then we can invoke the agent with the initial input, the initial state or input, and then the workflow will continue from there. So in the hands-on, what are we going to do? So remember, this is the first practice. So we'll keep things simple here. Here we are going to see how you can create a simple state, right, using a chat style interaction. So basically here we are defining this workflow for interacting with the agent, right? So that's what the core goal is. We will then implement the node functions, right? So here we'll write the input node and LLM node. You'll see that both of these will basically be so we'll not actually invoke an LLM here. So all of this will be an abstraction, right? So here we are going to hard code some of the things just to keep it simple. In the coming hands-on, we will slowly keep adding complexities to these workflows. And then once everything is ready, we are going to then graph it up, right? And then initiate the graph with an initial state, and then we'll see what the output looks like after the execution. And this is what the workflow will look like, right? So the user will have some question. So the starting node will receive the user input. In this particular case, we are going to see how it will look like when you call an actual LLM. We are going to improve the state with the output from the LLM, and then we will see what the final response looks like. So these are the three states that we will walk through in order to achieve the final answer. Right. So this basically is typically how the execution looks like in any workflow, right? So you have an entry node which starts the execution. Then all the intermediate nodes essentially are connected via the edges. Edges decide which nodes is supposed to run next, right? So based on the edges, you are going to decide which node is supposed to be invoked, right? And each node will receive the current state and return the updated state. So typically every single node receives the current state of your shared state variable, and then it will update it to return you the updated state back, right? So this basically happens in every single node. And the execution stops when there are no more nodes to be executed, obviously, right? So when you reach the end, the execution will stop. And a state is essentially, as I said, it's typically a dictionary-like object. And here we are going to use TypedDict from typing. Basically, that is basically the very commonly used dictionary format wherein you can type all the attributes and assign which all the attributes are mandatory, which are not mandatory, and things. It's a very decent way to initiate any state of dictionary. And then here there are certain things that we have to remember. The first thing is that nodes should always use states to pass along information, never use global variables. That's a very bad practice. That's why states are there, so that you can share information across different nodes in a workflow. And last but not the least, these states make flow easier to debug and test. So once you have updated the state, you can add logging information within each node to let you know what the current state looks like and what the update actually is in the current information that you have passed. Right? So that makes the debugging pretty much easier and streamlined as well. And in this entire workflow we have discussed previously is this LangGraph is built on top of LangChain. So LangChain basically has the primitives like models, tools, and retrievers that basically is used to define the individual nodes in LangGraph. Right? So inside the nodes, you can have chains or tools. So you can create a chain using invocation, wherein you invoke a model, get the response back. Or you can also create tools which are again defined using LangChain. So LangGraph is nothing but your orchestration. That's the framework that supports orchestration. And the LangChain, so this is basically LangChain, and LangChain supports integration. Right? So LangGraph is for orchestration, and LangChain is basically the internal which is uses for integrating all these different aspects together. So now it's time to jump into the hands-on. So in this notebook, we are going to see how we can create a simple hello world graph using LangGraph. In this notebook, we are going to first install. So remember, in my environment, I have already have all the dependencies installed, so I don't need to install again. But when running for the first time, remember to execute these install commands to let all the dependencies install first, right? So here we are LangGraph, LangChain, OpenAI, and TikToken. And in this case, we are then going to define a simple state. We are going to create two nodes. One is an input node that will basically add a user message to a state, meaning here we are going to instantiate a state based upon the initial input from a user. And an LLM node, which is going to basically mock the placeholder. It's like a placeholder that is mocking how an actual LLM would look like, or they can simulate how we use an actual LLM when we do not have a simulation in place, right? So that's basically the core idea here. So to kick things off here, we are going to import, right? So here, as I mentioned, to initiate states, always remember to use TypedDict, right? Here, we are going to also import certain other data types like lists and optional. So TypedDict is basically what we are going to use to initiate our chat state. So here we are creating a new class called chat state that imports TypedDict. Total is basically just to ensure that all the variables here are optional. It's not like you need every single variable at a time of instantiating your state. So it's typically recommended to set it to false when you want certain attributes of your dictionary to be optional. So here we are going to initialize our state variable. So let me just initiate this whole thing. So after this, now our state variable has been initialized, then it's time to define our nodes. So here you are going to see, I'm going to define my input node and an LLM node. Both of these are basic Python functions, and both of these are receiving the states as an input. Remember here, we are going to pass the state to every single node so that the node can utilize the information available in the state and modify if and when it's required. Now, the role of input node is to basically append the user message into your state. Whatever input the user is giving, this node is supposed to add a new user message to the state so that the follow-on nodes can use that input to generate the output, right? So in a real app, this would come from UI, right? So remember that here we are manually setting it, but when you are using it in an actual application, you are going to take this from the incoming API or the UI that is exposing the interaction, right? So here we are going to simply hard code a question for the demo. And in this case, we are going to first check what the current message looks like. If the messages are not set, obviously, when you are initializing, there will be no messages here. It will be an empty list. So therefore, here we are going to create an empty list. And then simply we are appending a new user message, which is basically what is LangGraph in simple terms. So basic input user message that we are setting here. And then what it is returning back is basically the original state along with the appended messages that we have created. Remember here that whatever the previous state was, I'm overwriting all the information from the previous state with the new information that we have created here. And then the second node is an LLM node, which is simulating how you can call an LLM here, right? And append the response in the same state. So here again, we are taking the state as an input. Again, we are checking the messages. So obviously this time we have the messages variable available. So therefore, in this particular case here, we are going to use that message, but this time we are not going to call an LLM. Rather, we are just mocking an answer here, which contains what LangGraph actually is. And then I'm appending a new message here. Here you will see that here we are appending a new message from assistant, which is basically containing the mock answer that we have received. And this, everything will be tied up together. So the previous state along with the updated messages and what the actual result looks like from this state, right? So everything is passed on together as the output from an LLM node. So as mentioned previously, a node will receive the state, update it, modify it, and return the updated state back. So here we are going to define both of our nodes. And then finally, we are ready to build our graph. Here, to define this graph, we are using LangGraph as always. And the flow is going to be input node, LLM node, and ending. It's a simple basic hello world graph. So to import this, we are going to use a state graph from LangGraph's graph package, right? So this exposes different type of graphs. Here we are going to import the LangGraph and an endpoint to indicate that this is an ending of a graph. We'll use both of them in a minute. So what we do here is basically we create a graph over the chat state. So this is basically letting the graph know which is the shared state that it's supposed to track. So over here, end to end, it's supposed to track all the information from your chat state. And then we are adding up both of our nodes. So the first is your input node. This is just an identifier. So this is like a text identifier for the node. This will contain your input node. Then we have a second node called LLM node, which contains your LLM node. So these are the nodes that we have added. Now it's time to define your edges or the connections between these nodes. So obviously we are first setting up an entry point. This is basically telling the graph where you interact or when you start it, which is the first node that you always call. So in this case, we are starting off with the input node. Then we are adding an edge between an input node to an LLM node, which tells the graph that you need to navigate from input to LLM whenever available. And then finally, we add an edge to your LLM node, which indicates the ending of your code. So after the response is received from the LLM, you basically end your entire flow. And once this graph is ready, we then compile it to basically, link everything together and you have your app ready. So let me print it out to see what it looks like after you have initiated this entire graph. So you will notice that here, this is what the graph looks like. So you have start, which goes to the input. Then the input goes to your LLM and then LLM responds back. And this is the end of our simple graph. And finally, we are then ready to run our graph. So we initialize our state. So remember, initially the state is just going to have an empty list of messages. I don't have any new updates here. And then we are going to invoke our app. Invoking app means that you need to run your entire end-to-end workflow. Here you are passing your initial state because this is what the graph is expecting, right? So it's expecting your state as an input. And then after everything is done, we are then printing what the final state looks like. And then we can even iterate through every single message in our messages queue to see what different messages are available. Okay, so let's run this and you will see that this is the final state. In the final state, you have a user query, which is what is LangGraph, and then an assistant response. And then finally, you have the result back. And the conversation trace is nothing but what different information have gone through, has gone through your messages. So we are iterating through every single one and telling you, and we are just logging what is the input and what is the assistant response. Remember, this was just a demo to show you how you can create a basic graph using LangGraph. In the coming videos, we'll make it a bit more complicated and adding LLMs to it as well. So I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much, and I'll see you around.